What's up guys, this is Automotive Anonymous, and if you're new to my channel, what I do are car reviews, 0 to 60s, and other cool car related content. If you're not new to my channel, thanks for returning. And you guys know I like Outbacks. I own an Outback Wilderness, I have for well over a year, and I have reviewed 8 of the 9 trim levels for 2023. We finally have the last trim level, the base, generously borrowed by these guys, Twin Falls Subaru. It's below MSRP, so I'm gonna link it below. And otherwise, we're gonna do a walk around, go through the specs, initial driving impressions, 0 to 60, and final thoughts, and decide, is this cosmic blue base or any other Outback worth the time and money of you and your family? This would start at about 28,000. So after destination and all-weather floor mats, it's still under 30 grand, meaning it's about 18,000 less than the average new car, which is pretty crazy. In the United States, Subaru sells well over 100,000 of these a year. It's based off of the Legacy platform, the sedan. So that front end, it might look familiar. We're in the 4th year of the 6th generation. These are a very proven platform. They get about 26 city, 32 highway gas tanks there on the passenger side. So with an 18.5 gallon tank, you're looking at almost 600 miles of highway road trip, baby. 8.7 inches of ground clearance. It's the standard Subaru all symmetrical global platform, and it has a 370 rear final drive ratio, so it puts the power down pretty well. The non-turbo like this can tow up to 2,700 pounds, and they're decently sized, but they're not huge. 16 feet long, 6 feet wide, and 5.5 feet tall with a 36-foot turning diameter. CVT and 4-cylinder boxer. They are pretty cool. And for tires, you get some pretty decent all seasons. There are 225, 65, 17, and they look pretty good. They accent the chrome trim lining the vehicle. But let's get inside, out of the 30-degree cold, and see what else it has to offer. You can notice keyhole right there. If we look at the door panel, it looks very Subaru. For being the base, they don't skimp out. You still get the carbon fiber theme. You get about a 10-finger handle with a little bit of a lip. All of your window settings and mirror settings right there. Non-Harman Kardon speakers, but they do sound decent for what you're paying. You have a bottle holder, some snacks, and a pretty nice soft touch armrest. You got the small size Subaru on the door sill plate, which is just plastic. You have those all-weather mats down here with the Subaru logo. Rubberized pedal, fuse box, hood release. You only have lighting for the dash right there, no other settings on this base, trip reset, and cloth seats with manual adjustments, which Subaru cloth seats are really good. I give them a lot of credit, I like them. Because it's the base, you don't get the leather wrapped wheel, you just get the plastic polymer one, but it feels pretty good. And then what is this? That's an actual key. Let's fire it up. The Boxer starts right up. On the left you have audio controls. You have the little toggle switch for the infotainment in the middle. Cruise control settings on the right side. To set non-eyesight cruise control, turn on cruise control and hold the distance button, and you'll notice that changed. You're now in non-eyesight controlled cruise control. Has heads-up display, no turn signal indicators or blind spot on the mirrors, and then you have this 7-inch screen over here, the split screen. I actually think this looks pretty good. You do have to turn off auto start stop if you don't like that feature. You still get Android Auto, Apple CarPlay. You can see those right there up top. Just a regular rear view mirror. It's not dimming on the Space model with no options. It doesn't have home link, but it does its job. Sunglass holder up here. And you still have the nice LED lights up top on both sides. You have the electronic parking brake. Still have a 2.4 amp USB and aux. And the nice deep tray for some extra snacks. It can go pretty far back. I do like that Subaru on this model doesn't have the same plate around the shifter, so that you know you're missing the camera button like the Wilderness has. But you can still drop it down to drive, slap it over to manual mode, and play musical simulated gears with that CVT. You have cup holders, they're nice and big, they're deep, and then you have the 2-level center console. You have the deep storage right there with the 12 volt. Missing, because it's a base, if you were on a different trim level, you would have a 12 volt. Or you have the top where you can put whatever thin valuables you want to hide up there. Otherwise, let's turn off the car. Let's hop in the back seat and see what you get. Door panel should look very familiar. Even the back seat gets carbon fiber theme. There's nothing you're missing out on back here. Still a decent sized door pocket, bottle holder, and some Rice Krispies maybe. Good sized grip, lip lined. And then a little bit of grip if you want to get up to those roof rails, which can fold over. They're lightweight though, shouldn't put more than about 200 pounds on them. And then cloth seats follow. It's easy to drop. 60-40 split. You can see the all-weather mat back there. And sitting behind herself, 5'11", I have a few inches of room. I can be a backseat driver. I can tell them, take me somewhere. Where do I want to go? You get a little bit of storage back here, maybe like a small phone, an iPod, maybe a pack of gum. And then you can see what you'd be missing if it was a higher trim level, where you'd have heated seats, USB plugins, things like that. And you can still recline and probably gain about 10 degrees, which feels good, especially if you're a tall person. Center armrest with 2 cup holders. And it's pretty sturdy. All right, let's get to the back. See what you get in the hatch. Couple ways to do this, guys. You could either use the button on the remote to unlock it, or there's a button right here, which is what we're gonna do. And if this was a higher trim level, you'd have the pin code right there where you can access the vehicle without having the keys. But let's push it. You see it didn't lock and lift on its own, it just unlocks, so we're gonna have to do it ourselves. Back here, you get over 30 cubic feet of room. If you drop the seats, you get about 75, so more than enough to car camp and do some pretty cool adventures back here. You have bag clips, some lightweight tie downs, things like that, a little bit of cubby room behind the rear fenders, 12 volt back here. And those all-weather mats with Outback on the back do look really good. We have a temporary spare tire underneath. All of the tools. You could fit like a blanket, an emergency kit, a small backpack, a MRSA purse, things of that nature down there. And then if you had the sunshade, or sorry, the privacy shade that would plug in right there, you can actually put that as well into the lining compartment right there. But let's throw this down, since we don't have automatic lift lower or the lock buttons right there, and go around to the other side, to the other back seat. You know what the door panels look like by now. They're really nice. You of course have a single map pocket to have another backseat driver, and then it's the 60 split. You can also recline back here, and these are a top safety pick plus, so anywhere you're sitting in the back or in the front, you know, you're going to be pretty well off, pretty safe. To the passenger, if you're riding shotgun, what do you get? Nice big door panel. You get your own bottle holder and some snacks, so you're not forgotten, you're not left out. And then baby size Subaru on the door sill, manual controls again. Our backpack is now old enough to occasionally sit up front, especially when we're not driving. Otherwise, you get a pocket right there, a pocket right there, lock and glove box with a 12 volt in the back, something you don't get on the Forester. Let's go around though. Let's see what that Boxer looks like and where it resides under the hood. Pop the hood. If you're familiar with Subarus, this all looks very straightforward and very familiar. Windshield washer reservoir, coolant reservoir, top mount oil filter, 0W20 engine oil fill cap, battery, positive terminal, negative terminal, brake fluid. You have a whole lot of room to work under here if you ever needed to for some reason. You have the oil dipstick right there, you have the alternator right on top, and the plastic guard so that you don't lose some fingers in the engine bay, because that's not a very fun experience. Ask someone who knows, but you probably shouldn't. And then you can see where the block is split down there for the horizontally opposed Boxer. On the passenger side, air vents through the filter, goes through the plumbing, the throttle body, into the upper intake manifold. And yeah, there is just a lot of room back here. You can see the CVT start down there. Very straightforward, very good, well thought out engine bay. Drop the hood. Now it's time to teleport inside and get those driving impressions and 0 to 60 acceleration. Initial driving impressions of the base Outback is that for under 30 grand, I think it's a really good value. Visibility is like the other 8 Outbacks I've reviewed for this year, if you've seen any of those videos. In summary, it's fantastic. The non-leather wrapped wheel, which this is the only Outback to get that, still feels pretty good for being plastic, being how a lot of other wheels used to be and are on the lower trim levels of other models. It's really not too bad. You still have quite a few of those safety features. Without blind spot monitoring on the side, you can still see the 7-light heads-up display and all the adaptive cruise control features on the wheel again. And surprisingly, I think the infotainment system, the split screen on this, works quite well. The lower portion that controls HVAC and vehicle settings, honestly, is, if anything, faster than on my Wilderness. Could have different software, of course, to operate its system, but not too bad overall. We are on a freshly, lightly dusted snow road in the country, and it does pretty well. You only really lose traction if you're being silly or if you're trying to. Otherwise, if you take it easy, these all-season tires do pretty well. Something I have noticed, though, when you push the brake, is it feels more responsive than a lot of the other Outbacks I've driven. I don't know if that's the tires on this, if it's just the new brake pads, but the pedal doesn't have to really travel anywhere for it to sharply start engaging, and then it seems to be fairly linear the further you go after that. Armrest comfort is pretty good. It's of course similar to the other Outbacks, same with the center console. And then everything is just where you want it to be. You still have the cup holders, the same storage cubbies for the passenger side. There's really not a lot you're missing. Being an Outback, it's one of the quieter interior rides on a Subaru. Again, these are better than Crosstreks, WRXs, and Imprezas. They're similar to the Forester, and I can't quite tell if it's as good as the Ascent. The road noise isn't too bad in the Outback. It's smooth with the long wheelbase and 8.7 inches of ground clearance. It really doesn't leave you wanting too much more. I feel like I can do whatever I need to on these style of roads, or in my own Outback when I've driven through 6 to 8 inches of snow, which is typical for a good dumping where we get. I feel very well off. I don't really feel like I'm missing anything. When I do my 40-mile commutes to work, doing some therapy, and it has bad inclement weather, the roads are slick, I feel really comfortable in my Subaru. I'm usually not someone that drives fast or, you know, does a lot of passing on the interstate, but in the Subaru, it's just incredible how much slower all the front-wheel drive cars and non-symmetrical all-wheel drive or 4x4 setups are. Some of those could also be those guys might not have as good of tires, but it's just incredible to see what they can do in weather. So if you live in the Pacific Northwest, if you live near the Great Lakes, if you live anywhere that gets a lot of snow, you really should consider something like this. I feel really good with the all-wheel drive system in the Subarus compared to some of the other cars I've driven, Toyotas, Mazdas, Hondas. Some of those, they have their own perks, pros and cons, but Subaru's all-wheel drive for the money is really good. For being, you know, 12 grand less than I paid for my Outback Wilderness almost a year and a half ago, I think this is such a good value. It just rides so smooth. Let's show you what the powertrain does, what 0 to maybe a 60-year-old looks like. It's really not too impressive. These take about 3 to 3.5 seconds longer on average than the turbos during the summer, maybe 2 to 3 seconds during the winter, because elevation, altitude, all that stuff plays a big role on how well the engine breathes. Just think about an athlete running in the mountains versus running at sea level. It's a big difference, and your engine's going to feel that too. But if you're not going through mountain passes, if you're not towing, if you're not loaded down, I think this 2.5 Boxer is extremely proven, very reliable. I think it's going to be a good option for you guys. But if you need the power, if you do those things formerly mentioned, you really should maybe consider one of the XT versions of the Outback. Otherwise, let's get to a private road and do an actual 0 to 60, see what it can do. 0 to 60 in the Outback base, density altitude's 2,500 feet, so we're down power by 8%. We're gonna brake rev the CVT, and we're gonna see what it can do. cruise 0 to 60 came in at 9.43 seconds. That seems about right for our area. I'll post a GPS graph next. In the bottom left of the graph, you can see what it does without the foot of rollout, the way it would have been rated on that same run on our private road by the magazine. Final thoughts of the base Outback is for under 30 grand, I think it's an exceptional offer. It's such a good all-around vehicle. It does everything really well. It's not really a master of any, but it's a jack of all trades. And it's one that you should consider. I've waited probably like a month since my last 23 Outback review to finally get my chance to drive a base. And I'm so glad I did. I really like it. You save a lot of money over some of the higher trim levels, and you decide, are those extra features worth it or not? Because you are getting a very large, very capable all-wheel drive wagon, and you don't really lose out on any of the basics. You still get great safety, great fuel economy, and a good-looking, well-thought-out, proven design that it's gonna last you a lot of years. If you guys like my video, please consider liking, commenting, and subscribing. If you're interested in any of the vast inventory at this dealer, check them out below. They are really good people to work with. That's why I do videos when I come to town. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Have a great week.